Welcome to Saints at Manahawkin United Methodist Church. We have a very special guest today, Art and Lovisa Hill. So thanks for coming, Art and Lovisa.
Good.
All right. I want you to relax and have a smile, and we'll have a great time talking
we
and
can
listening.
hope.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, want to say or share with us?
I just want to show you my great-great-grandfather's
All right,
Bible.
let's hear it. Woo.
This is my great-grandfather's Bible. This was printed in 1811.
1811.
His name was Abner
Abner
Wells,
Wells.
and my mother wrote that he's where he's buried. And
Gosh.
we don't handle this, but I do have to show you.
Ooh.
My mother wrote
Note.
when she was
man.
married in
Oh.
here, and Abner started up here.
Yeah.
And then these are all the children,
Family. Oh
all
my.
the children.
Somewhere in there is ours.
Really? Nancy.
No, I haven't written them.
1793 here.
Yeah.
Nancy. Abner.
These are Abner was my great-great-grandfather,
Oh.
and Sally was
Oh, this
his
is a
wife.
family name. Abner. Is
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, your mother is somewhere.
Edith?
Lovisa.
Oh, that's me. That's me. Here we are. No,
Oh.
where are we? Well, I don't know.
Royal
Where's it?
Bird's Eye Wells?
Yeah, that's a brother.
Oh, that's your
And
brother.
Thomas Henry and
Wow. So
Robert
this is-
Lewis.
So it started, if I flip over here.
Yeah. 1787.
87.
Yeah.
200, almost 250 years.
Yeah. So, my father gave this to me to be the
The keeper.
keeper of it.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure about the boys, but my mother said, "Well, you're not a Wells."
Oh man.
And I said,
That's
"But I will always be a Wells."
yeah. But then, are you going to continue writing in? Because there's no Wells in your
Well-
family, that's why.
No.
Yeah, there's no Wells.
So you cannot put in anymore.
Well,
But what about your brothers, their family?
I haven't given this to them to put, but I could put
you
there.
can get their names in. You could put
I
in here
do.
and keep
Well,
the Bible.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Heather made our. See in this, and
Oh yeah.
I made a copy of this. See, this is my great-grandfather and his wife. He was
Wow.
in the gold rush that went out
Oh,
to
really?
California.
Did he get a lot of gold there?
No, but he was smart.
Yeah.
He bought land.
He sold the products that the
Okay.
people needed.
Oh, really?
And then he came back. It took him 3 years.
Yeah.
And he came back on the Transcontinental Railroad.
Wow,
A
how
lot
about
different
that?
than going over with the wagon and the, yeah.
That's
And
right.
then he came back
Yeah.
And-
And he settled in Connecticut?
in
Is that-
Connecticut.
That's how.
He lived there before.
Oh,
had
I
lived
see, I
there.
see.
All right, now
So Heather made a very nice
Heather made,
family
this is the family tree.
descendant
So,
indented
yeah.
chart. Wow.
and these are all.
This one has your brothers and their families
Right,
in it.
Right.
yeah.
So, that's-
So, and we gave a copy of this to our children, their children, and my brothers and their children. And I said to Nate, what did you think of it? He says, oh, it's okay for us, but he said it'd be boring for anybody
Oh,
else.
come on. They have to
I
wait
mean, it
until...
was for the family.
That's right.
It wasn't meant to sell.
Right.
What?
1856.
Right. Well,
Beginning
that's
with
when
your-
my great-grandfather, I started with my great-grandfather, when he went out on the gold rush to
Oh,
California.
That's right. But this one goes beyond.
This
that.
this was his
Another-
father, Abner.
Look at this, the volume.
Yeah.
Well,
So this is the Bible,
That's right. It's still. Yeah.
and they read it.
They read it, and look at that.
And we used to read it in school.
In school, too. Tell us about that.
well,
Did you
Otherwise,
read
I
it?
used to.
yeah, we read it. We had
Yeah.
a Bible reading, and I don't know what started. I guess it was the Bible reading first. Then we all said the Lord's Prayer
Really? In
Yes.
public school?
In
in
public
public school,
school.
and then I don't think we sang the Star Spangled Banner. That's a little difficult. but
My
we pledged
country,
allegiance.
my
Yeah.
country, 'tis of thee.
Yeah.
We sang.
My Hill family moved into Western Pennsylvania in
Yeah.
my dad was born in 1898 in McKeesport, but his father and mother moved over from England in the earlier I guess because the steel mills were starting up there,
Okay.
and they may have worked in the black country in England, which was the industrial area,
Oh,
Birmingham.
yes, okay.
But the McClellans, my mother, they were in northwestern Pennsylvania at the time of the French and Indian War,
Wow.
but I mean, I don't know much about them.
Let's begin with Lovisa, with our childhood memories. I'm sure we have plenty, but if you would like to share with us how it was when you're growing up.
Well, when I grew up on a farm in Connecticut, and everybody went to church. I mean, that area was all farms. So the farmers, that was their day of rest. We didn't do anything but visit
Oh, yeah.
and take care of the cows and the chickens. And we all went to church, everybody. And then the farmers, during coffee hour, they would compare how the crops went. And
My zucchini is bigger than yours or something.
I don't think they messed around with zucchini.
and I have,
Mostly cows, I think.
yeah. This is I wrote this book of all my childhood
You
memories.
did. You know what? At the end of our session, I would like to take some photos to
Okay.
post it on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Okay.
you. Okay.
That's me here.
All right. Yeah.
And I have 5 older brothers.
Oh.
2 have died now,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
three are left in me. So.
So did you have lots of friends in the neighborhood when you were?
Oh no, there was no neighborhood. The neighborhood was your farm. My nearest neighbor was about 1.5 miles down the road, and it was a dirt road, and I could get on my bicycle and ride to
Wow.
her house. She'd
about
ride to mine. We'd sleep out in the cow pastures under a blanket tent.
How about that? Yeah.
We played Indians. That's back when you could, pretend you were Indian. We
Yeah.
took our father's shirts, dyed them, made symbols on them, and you cut the sleeves. We had a great time.
That's
The
great.
cows were interested in what we were doing.
Is that true that cow farmers must get up early to milk the cows and so forth? Was that the case with you too?
My father got up at 4 o'clock every morning,
Wow.
went to bed at 10 o'clock, but he always took time to write in his diary.
How about that?
That's
How about
impressive.
that?
Yeah.
That's really impressive. Yeah. You said you have 5 brothers, all older than you are?
And I said to my father one day, what would you have done if you had had 5 daughters
Yeah.
and just 1 boy?
Yeah.
He said, well, guess what? You would have had to do
All
what
the
they
work.
do.
Oh, yeah.
Get in the hay and,
Yeah, that's right.
deliver the eggs.
Yeah. By the time you were born, you didn't have to do a lot of chores for the family, right?
Oh, yes, I
still
did.
did?
I was the only girl. I worked inside with my mother.
What'd you do?
Oh, you're right.
I cleaned.
Cooking and
Okay.
cleaning.
I cleaned
Wow.
and ironed.
Ironed. Oh, wow.
I mean, back then you didn't have permanent press. So my mother had an iron and I had an iron.
Oh, I see.
And we ironed.
How
Because,
old were you when you ironed?
no, I think maybe I started in when I was 7.
Okay. But
I
you
mean,
weren't
not when I
really
was little.
You didn't
No,
burn
no.
your hands on the
Wow,
iron.
7?
And we had a wringer washer. And
Yeah.
you put the things,
Yeah.
the clothes in, and your arm would go right through if
Oh,
you didn't
boy,
watch
yeah.
out.
Oh,
Ouch.
Then you'd yell, and my mother would come, and she'd turn it off.
yeah. Wow.
Then you'd pull your arm out, and you'd do it all over again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
How about art?
Oh, well, my mother was old when I was born, and she died shortly after I was born.
So, yeah.
So for most of my really young years, I lived with my Aunt Esther and my dad in what was the Hill family house.
Yeah. Which state you were born?
I was born in Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania.
McKeesport.
Oh, okay.
And I guess about the time I finished first grade, my dad remarried, and we moved to a house on, it was within walking distance of the one that was right behind the school that I went from first grade to from second grade to eighth grade in. And I was by myself, but I had lots of friends. In fact, I'm still friends with some of the ones that were friends then.
That's great.
Within walking distance. And John Brenzia was one of my friends, and guy Jim Arnold, and they're still friends of mine.
That's
Dave-
great.
Dave
We're
Farrell.
talking about
And I had
almost
a
80 years.
good time in school.
Yeah,
I guess I was bright enough that I had a good time in school.
yeah.
I enjoyed going to school.
That's great.
You played on the playground.
Well, we did.
Stickball and-
We played stickball, and we called it handball. We threw a rubber ball in and bounced, and then you hit it with your fist.
Sounds
and then
like a
played
cricket.
baseball.
Cricket.
No, it was baseball.
Baseball.
Sort of baseball.
Oh, I see.
We weren't allowed to have baseballs because the houses were too close, and they would go through the windows.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
I had a good time. I guess about 11 years old, I joined the Boy Scouts,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and I really liked that.
Yeah.
I liked camping, and then I ended up in high school working as a counselor at the summer camp
Oh,
for
is
the
that
Boy
right?
Scouts.
Yeah. Yeah, Boy Scouts, they just always wanted to become an Eagle Scout.
Oh, I
Did
I
you
made
become
that.
one?
Yeah, I made Eagle Scout.
Oh, that's cool.
I think my stepmother was constantly pushing me to perform to my ability.
Oh,
Whatever
that's good.
that
Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing.
It was a combination of things. At the time, I thought it was a bad thing.
Oh,
When
I
we
see.
got married, because he had had this camping experience, that's how we spent our
that-
vacations with the
helped,
children. Because you don't have money when you're young.
We weren't in school anymore, but we
Yeah.
didn't have much money.
No.
We're trying to save up enough to buy a house.
Yeah, that's right. Now, you were growing up, I mean, in the 1950s, right?
Right.
After the World War
40,
II.
Yeah.
40
right.
late 40s and
Late 40s and
50s.
50s. And so.
Yeah, born in 41. She was born in 42.
42.
Oh, I see.
So we
Yeah.
were growing up a little bit during the Second World War. I
That's
remember my dad was working 12-hour days and some weeks 7 days a week because he was working in Westinghouse Air Brake, which must have made machine parts
I was
for
going to
the
say, yeah.
for
yeah,
the,
That's right.
military.
That's right. That's right. You said that from the early years you remember going to church all the time.
Oh, okay.
Well, what about art? It was the same thing with your
Well,
family?
when I was living with my Aunt Esther and my dad, I remember going to Episcopal church. And then when my stepmother married my dad, we started going to Presbyterian church. And I always went there for Sunday school.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
they had a youth service
Yes,
during
yeah,
the
that's
church
correct. Youth
service.
group. Yeah, that's right.
So this was while you were little kids.
yeah.
I worked somewhat in the church. I mean, I was an usher, but being a 14 or 15 or 16-year-old boy,
Yeah.
you would bring the offering up
Oh, is that
and
right?
you'd just leave, walk out to the back, walk out and get into someone's car and go drive. So I was church educated.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think maybe when you became a member,
Yeah,
you realized you were committing something.
that's true. That's
And
true.
I had a friend whose pastor said that at that point, that was the most important thing you'd ever done in your life. Committed yourself to Jesus, basically.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
When I was 6 years old,
Oh.
it was very dark, and all of a sudden I could see Jesus.
Really?
And he put his arms out.
Wow.
And then I just went to sleep, I guess.
Wow.